Insulin is your fat-storing hormone, so it makes sense to eat foods that do not raise your insulin level. There is such a thing called the insulin index that has categorized certain foods and how much they directly influence your insulin. In this video, we're going to introduce you to the insulin index and show you how you might be able to use it to help your ketogenic diet. So why don't you give everyone a real quick overview of what the insulin index is?
Okay, so the insulin index is a way of measuring your body's insulin response to a particular food after you've consumed it.
Right, and so there's some pros and cons to this insulin index. I'll start with the cons, and that is that this was done on a few test subjects. It's a very small study, and there was only 36 foods that they ended up categorizing. So the insulin index is not something that you can use for your wide diet. And now on the plus side, what this study did show and reveal is that certain foods that do not typically raise our glucose will raise your insulin level. And we've talked about this many times on our channel, right? So as glucose goes up, we assume that insulin will go up. Well, this study revealed certain foods that will not do that. Of the primary standouts were lean proteins and certain dairy proteins like whey protein.
That's right. And the other pro that we have is that if you've been with us for a while, you may remember a video we did some time ago that was called "You Can't Be a Little Bit Keto." This study kind of reflects why we did that video. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to read right from the conclusion of the study, and it says the consumption of protein or fat with carbohydrate increases insulin secretion compared to the insulinogenic effects of just the nutrients alone. So if you're eating something that is both carbohydrate and fat, mm-hmm. or carbohydrate and protein, you can actually get a higher insulin response than if you just had the carbohydrate by itself.
Yeah, so it was the combining of the foods with the carbohydrate that boosted up the insulin response. And the point of you can't be just a little bit keto, one of the points that we made in that video was you can't cheat the system, right? So if you eat a very high fat dinner and just at the end you want maybe just like a little something sweet, just, to reward yourself, what you're doing there is that you are combining a lot of fat and probably protein with a more refined carbohydrate, and you probably are getting more of an insulin response than you think that you are getting.
Right, so you could be shutting off your fat burning and turning on your fat storing
Absolutely.
At that point in time, working against everything you've worked for. So here's the takeaway to all this. You really need to focus on sticking with a really well-formulated ketogenic diet, mm-hmm. which is high fat, low carbohydrate, and a moderate or adequate amount of protein. Yeah. And that's really all there is to it.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. We just wanted to introduce you to the insulin index. We hope that gives you a little bit extra ammo. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks.
Good enough?
It's good enough. Yep. It's good enough. It really wasn't that good.
It was good enough.
We'll take it.